Happy New Year! But why exactly was yesterday New Year's Day? Hi there, everyone. It's Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English with current events, trending topics, and I guess whatever catches my attention. This is the last of our easier holiday-themed lessons. This one, I'm just warning you, includes some math. Math can be hard to listen to, but that's why we have the transcripts at plainenglish.com/534. Got that? Okay, let's get going. The calendar we use today, with 12 months starting with January and ending in December, is called the Gregorian Calendar. It was implemented by Pope Gregory VIII in the year 1582, so about 440 years ago. That's remarkable, but what's even more remarkable is that the calendar before this one, the Julian Calendar, was almost exactly the same as the current Gregorian Calendar. The Julian Calendar took effect in the year 46 BC, so more than 2,000 years ago. The Julian Calendar, remember, this is 2,000 years ago. The Julian Calendar was arranged in 12 months and had 365 days in a normal year and 366 days in a leap year, which occurred every 4 years. That sounds very similar to the calendar we use today, but it's not precisely the same as what we use today. The Julian calendar, 365 days a year, except leap years, meant that a calendar year was, on average, 365.25 days. But an astronomical year is 365.2419 days. That sounds minor, but the discrepancy meant the Julian calendar would fall 1 day behind the true astronomical year about once every 128 years. So Pope Gregory VIII's calendar sought to fix that. The Gregorian calendar goes like this. Every 4 years is a leap year of 366 days, except leap years divisible by 100 and not divisible by 400. The effect of this change was to remove 3 leap days every 400 years. A year divisible by 100 means round century numbers like 1800, 1900, 2000, and 2100. You can divide these years by 100 and get a whole number. So on century years like 1900 and 2000, we have to pay attention. These years are on the every 4-year leap year schedule, but because they're divisible by 100, they might not be leap years. Remember, the rule goes like this. Leap years are every 4 years except years divisible by 100 and not divisible by 400. So here's another way of saying that. No century year can be a leap year unless the century year can be divided by 400. So what century years are divisible by 400? Those would be years like 1200, 1600, 2000, and 2400. So if you're listening to this lesson, there's a high probability you were alive in the year 2000. February 29th, 2000 was a special day. Every century year would ordinarily not be a leap year, but once every 400 years, a century year is a leap year, and that happened in the year 2000. So try this out. Look up the date, February 29th, 1896. It exists because 1896 was a leap year. Then look up February 29th, 1900, 4 years later. It does not exist. 1900 is a century year not divisible by 400, so it's not a leap year. Then, every 4-year cadence resumed, and there was a February 29th, 1904. The next century year was 2000, but since 2000 is divisible by 400, it was a leap year, and there was a February 29th, 2000. Anyway, here's my point. This little wrinkle, this rule of a leap year skipping century years, except century years divisible by 400, this was the only change in the Gregorian calendar over the previous calendar. It's a tiny change. And but for this small change, our current calendar has been in use since the year 46 BC. I started the lesson by asking why January 1st is New Year's Day. I thought it would have been decided when the current calendar was established, but that's not true. In medieval times, the New Year was celebrated on different days, in different places, in different times. It was celebrated on December 25th to honor the birth of Jesus, on March 25th, which commemorates the conception of Jesus, on March 1st, and in other years, on Easter. January 1st is special for 2 reasons. Christians observe January 1st as the day Jesus was named, 8 days after he was born. Pre-Christians observed January 1st as the new year because Janus, the god for whom the month is named, is the god of gateways and beginnings. Most countries of Europe adopted January 1st as New Year's Day in the 1500s. The world was not as connected then as it is now, so different countries adopted the new year on different years. Britain was a holdout. The UK and its American colonies didn't adopt January 1st as the new year until 1752. Earlier, I told you to look up the date, February 29th, 1900. I hope you didn't look it up in Microsoft Excel. If you enter the date 2/28/1900 in Microsoft Excel, and if you add 1 day to it, Microsoft returns the date 2/29/1900, a date that does not exist. Now, 2 weeks ago, I told you I was very familiar with Excel, but even I learned something once in a while. Microsoft Excel is still operating on the Julian Calendar, which has been out of date for 400 years. To be fair to Microsoft, they knew this. But Lotus 123, the spreadsheet that came before Excel, Lotus had this bug. And when Excel started, it had to be compatible with Lotus 123, the first ever spreadsheet. So Microsoft purposely built this mistake into its software so that Lotus worksheets would work in Excel. Lotus was discontinued 20 years ago, but Excel still has the century leap year mistake in it. Google Sheets, however, does not. Today's English expression is seek to. We're going to use seek to with another verb. We use this when we're talking about what something or someone is trying to do. Remember when we talked about corporate mission statements? The mission statement of a company describes what that company's purpose or mission in the world is. What is the company trying to do? Google's mission is to organize the world's information. So we can say that Google seeks to organize the world's information. That is its purpose or mission. Often we use seek to with the intention of a policy or a change. Remember the new law in New York about pay transparency? The law requires that employers post a salary range for all jobs that they list in public. The new policy seeks to reduce the gap in pay between men and women. That is the policy's intention. And in today's lesson, we both learned, that the Julian calendar, which was in place from 46 BC until the year 1582, the Julian calendar had an average of 365.25 days per year. But astronomically, there are 365.2419 days. So each year of the Julian calendar moved about 12 minutes away from the true astronomical year. That adds up over the centuries. The Gregorian calendar of 1582 sought to correct that imperfection. Sought to is the past tense of seek to. The Gregorian calendar sought to correct the imperfections in the calendar that came before it. The new calendar took away a leap day 3 times every 400 years. The Gregorian calendar, therefore, has a long-term average of 365.2422 days. Now you'll notice that this is still not precisely astronomically accurate. Our current calendar year, get ready to lose your mind. Our current calendar year is 26 seconds longer than the true astronomical year. This did not sit well with the astronomer John Herschel. In the 1800s, he sought to correct this imperfection. He proposed that we remove 1 leap day every 4,000 years. He wanted to take 1 day off the calendar every 4,000 years, I swear, to bring the current calendar closer into alignment with the astronomical year. He proposed removing February 29th from every year divisible by 4,000. The next time that would happen is in the year 4,000. Under the Gregorian calendar, it's divisible by 400, so it would be a leap year. Herschel's proposal was to remove that day so that over thousands of years, the Gregorian calendar would be more accurate. John Herschel died in 1871, but his dream is not dead. Humanity still has time to correct the mistake in the Gregorian calendar. We still have 1,977 years before we would have to remove Herschel's extra day from the calendar. Here's a quote from Charles Schultz, the cartoonist behind the Peanuts comic strip. We talked about him on Thursday. Here's what he said: "Be yourself. Nobody can say you're doing it wrong." I love that. Be yourself. Nobody can say you're doing it wrong. Well, that's all for today's Plain English. By the way, we may never get a year to be exactly a year. The speed of the Earth's rotation is gradually slowing down so that the length of a day is changing very, very slightly every year. And so that means there will be more days in an astronomical year when measured over many centuries. It doesn't matter for us. We won't be alive to worry about this in the year 4000. And as long as our calendar has a Monday and a Thursday, you'll have Plain English twice a week. I don't think Pope Francis is trying to change the calendar anytime soon. So that means we are back on Thursday with a new lesson. See you then.